Welcome back to another episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. I'm your host, Tara Renze. So excited to have you with me on the show today. I have got some really amazing, life-changing emotional intelligence advice to share with you today to help you be who you came to be within your relationships. You guys, this is so game-changing. I learned this advice probably, it had to have been 20 plus years ago. And I'm going to tell you, it's changed my relationships, my marriage, how I parent my children, how I approach conflict, how I approach conflict resolution, how I avoid conflict. It's gold. We're going to get into it in a second. But I got to tell you, if you're watching on YouTube, I have got really good news. I'm getting new lights. So I'm not going to have the kooky larooky, ring lights on my glasses anymore, because we're investing in the podcast. We're growing fast. We are growing so fast. Almost 2,000 subscribers on Buzzsprout, which is incredibly exciting. Plus all of you on YouTube who are loving the episodes, the shorts. Do me a favor, share it with a friend. It would mean the world to me. And today's episode specifically, you're going to want to share, because when I tell you this is going to be life-changing for you, I absolutely mean it, and it's something that you can put into play immediately. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about a little piece of advice that I got when I was in my 20s working in the corporate world. We had something happen. Just so you know, I ran sales offices and I ran sales teams across the country. And we had a pretty big snafu with one of our clients and customer service. And it got thrown on my desk, and I kind of blew a head gasket over it. Okay. I was a young leader. I had a lot to learn. I was still navigating how to deal with conflict, how to deal with customer service issues, how to handle different things. Now, we did get it resolved and everything was fine and dandy. Just so you know, I can't even remember what it was. I can't remember exactly what the situation was. But I was in my quarterly review with the CEO, Matt Ferguson. By the way, Matt Ferguson, I have no idea where you are, but you are an incredible leader and you taught me some amazing lessons, this one specifically. We were talking about this issue that we had with customer service and my client, our client, and we kind of went through it all. And it was kind of like, well, customer service said this, the client wanted this, and it would end up being this huge ordeal. And he said, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. He said, when entering conflict or a customer service issue, or really anything where people aren't seeing eye to eye, assume a misunderstanding. And I was like, okay, keep going. He said, always assume a misunderstanding. Because here's the thing, Tara, usually it is a misunderstanding. And guess what? This situation absolutely was a misunderstanding between my sales rep, between me, between our customer service department and the client. If I would have gone into it just saying, hey, I feel like there's been some sort of a misunderstanding along the way, surely we can get this sorted out, it would have totally changed how everything went down. So this advice, always assume a misunderstanding, has totally changed how I approach relationships, how I approach things that are like, well, I don't really know what this means. Like, are they trying to be rude? Like, are they angry? Are they mad? I just assume like I'm not reading it right. You know, I think so many times we think everyone's out to get us when really the truth is maybe they just don't get us. Like they're not out to get us. They're maybe just not getting what they're not picking up what we're throwing down, right? Okay. So why do we need this tool? Why is assuming a misunderstanding such a powerful emotional intelligence tool that will change your relationships for the better? Well, let's face it, you guys, conflict's everywhere. Like we're constantly in a state of trying to understand, and then we constantly misunderstand what people's true intentions are. And get this, it's not even usually about the issues. It's not about our difference in values. There is a research study that was done that shows 65% of performance problems in the workplace specifically come from strained relationships, not even skill. It's just conflict, this grinding issue between two people who maybe aren't seeing eye to eye. And oftentimes it's not even what they said, it's what we thought they meant, right? We thought they meant, well, they had to have mean this. And this is where emotional intelligence comes in, and giving this opportunity to assume a misunderstanding, pressuring you to pause, to really think about it, and to say, I'm not going to lead with judgment. Instead, I'm going to lead with curiosity. Now, this is emotional intelligence in action. Because what happens if there's a conflict, right? And you think someone is out to get you? I'm going to make up an example. Let's say that you were working on a project with 4 other people. And they were, you found out there was like a little meeting between 3 of them and you weren't there. You could go in and be like guns blazing, like, how could you guys have this meeting without me? Like, you don't value me. You don't like me. You clearly don't think that I should be on this project. Like, you could come up with all of this shit, right? Or you could say, hey, I feel like we must have had a misunderstanding because I heard that you 3 were meeting and I would have loved to be part of that. Like, what's going on? Here's what happens when you assume a misunderstanding. 1, you were assertive, but you were assertive not with emotion, but with intellect. You were calm, you explained the situation, and you gave them the benefit of the doubt. You said, hey, this has to be a misunderstanding. Now, what you found out was, oh my gosh, we were actually all at the lunch table together and we just started talking about it. And we actually said, like, gosh, it would have been really great if Sally Sue could have been in here. We are so sorry. Next time what we'll do is we'll just text you. In the meantime, let's go ahead and download. Like, why don't the 4 of us get together and we'll download what happened? Like, most of the time, no one really likes conflict. I mean, sure, there's some assholes out there who just live for drama and conflict and fights and these people, right? They live for it. The majority of people don't want conflict. And so when we enter with curiosity, like, hey, we must have had a misunderstanding. What it does is it allows you to be assertive, but then it gives you an opportunity to express empathy for the other people, to be assertive and to tell their side of the story so that you can come to common ground and have some understanding. So, it's really the science of the brain. The brain is wired to protect you, not to connect you. Like, I want you to remember this. The brain is wired to protect you and not connect you. And we've talked about this. 80% of your thoughts every day, they're negative, they're biased, they're repetitive. So it's not uncommon that you think people are out to get you versus that they just don't get you, that they're not understanding you. And here's the other thing. 93% of communication is nonverbal. So we're drawing in the blanks. We're filling in the stories with whatever we're seeing and perceiving. And our perception is reality when maybe someone has their arms crossed because they're really freaking cold. Like, maybe they're cold. Like, I don't know, maybe they're just freezing. And so they're trying to stay warm. But we make up stories and we make up assumptions versus trying to understand. And so the stories are like, they're mad at me. That was rude. They don't value my work. And we've had this before, right? Where I guarantee you've all sent off an email to someone with like this grandiose idea that you are so excited about. You've put all this thought into the email. You've read it. You've had other people read it. And whoever you sent it to says, that sounds great. Or sure. Or cool. Or okay. And you're like, what the hell does this mean? They clearly don't value my work. And you start coming up with all these things versus assuming like maybe they're busy. Maybe they're whatever. Where at that point in time, if this is really grinding on you versus going in and being like, I poured my heart out in that email and you gave me the rudest example back, the rudest response back. Like, how could you do that to me? Versus like, hey, Joe, I got to tell you, I feel like there was some sort of a misunderstanding because I really felt like I put a lot into that email. And I just didn't feel like maybe you were into it. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe we've had a misunderstanding. And at that point in time, Joe might be like, no, I loved it. I didn't have anything to change. Like, it was that good. Or they might be like, hey, I was busy. All the things that could be versus what you are making maybe into a massive problem that is really just something super small. And if you assumed a misunderstanding, created that curiosity, you could get to the bottom of it. It's Tara here, and I am so excited to let you know that the second edition of my book, Be Who You Came to Be, is officially on pre-sale. I originally self-published the book, and now a publishing house has picked up the book, and I'm so excited and so honored that this book will be available in bookstores across the country. However, you don't have to wait till it gets into the bookstore to get your copy. You can go to my website and sign up for your very own pre-sale book, which includes new secrets, new emotional intelligence takeaways to help you step into your authenticity and be exactly who it is that you came to be. Look, you don't need a self-help book to help you fix what's broken. You're not broken. You just need to become more of who you already are. It's why I poured my heart into this book, and I am so excited that a copy is waiting for you. Head over to my website now and get your copy. Now, let's think about this too. Generational misunderstandings. I posted on my Instagram and I did an entire one of my Tuesday tips on it, tararenze.com/sign up. If you're not getting my Tuesday tips, you're going to want to get them. We were talking about generational misunderstandings, and my son got a triple at baseball. And then when he got to third base, he did this, they call them sellies, like a celebration. That's also, I was like, selly, like selling something, like, no, he's like, Mom, short for celebration. I was like, oh, a selly. Okay. And he did what I thought was the Karate Kid crane. You know, when he goes up into the crane and he's going to kick Johnny at the end of the Karate Kid. And I was like, Jack, oh my God, I loved your Karate Kid tribute when you got your third and that was your selly. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I go, you know, when you did the Karate Kid crane. And he was like, no, that's a TikTok trend. That's the fairy trend. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And it was just a perfect example of a generational misunderstanding. Now, I don't know about your kids, but my boys sometimes talk a totally different language where I have to get on Google and like Google, what in the hell does this mean? So if you think about in the workforce specifically, there are so many different generations. A baby boomer might say, hey, we've always done it this way. This is how we do it. Like for them, it's reliability, it's experience, it's like tried and true things. Where the millennial hears that and is like, this person's resistant to change. What a jerk. And Gen X or Gen Z replies, you know, to a detailed email, kind of what I said with K. And Gen X is like, my generation's like, excuse me, K? Really? You write K? Like that's totally, you know, unacceptable. And now you combine 4, even 5 generations in one workplace. Guess what? A misunderstanding is going to happen. It's going to happen. It's like we're communicating in completely different languages, right? I mean, how many of you have been to a foreign country and you thought you understood them and you really didn't because they were speaking in a completely different language, but you tried to draw some conclusions and lines and you were like, I wanted to go to the bar and I'm in the bathroom. Like I clearly took I was misunderstood, right? Get this, 60% of workplace conflict stems from generational misunderstandings, not personality clashes. That is a Society of Human Resource Managers is the source on that. 60% of workplace conflict stems from generational misunderstandings. I mean, we could see how it happens. You know, it's not even a personality clash. We're just not speaking the same language. We're raised differently. We're trained differently. We communicate differently. But instead of labeling someone as rude or lazy or aggressive or soft or whatever it is that you're labeling this person, maybe just assume the misunderstanding and be like, maybe I'm misunderstood. Go and talk to them and be like, hey, you know what? I feel like we've had some misunderstanding and it's probably generational. And tell me what you were thinking on this. And it's an opportunity to become effective in your communication. And again, drives that curiosity versus being passive or aggressive. Okay, so when should you use this and when should you not use this? I posted this once on TikTok a long time ago, and I got some real bad pushback of people being like, this is excusing bad behavior, toxic relationships and all that. I'm not talking about ignoring red flags for assholes and for people who are verbally abusive to you. That's not when you should assume a misunderstanding. You know, if you're seeing a repetitive behavior by someone, note it, okay? Note it. But a misunderstanding, right? When you get the short, vague message that triggers you, you know, someone's tone feels off. Someone from another generation says something that's not right. We use this all the time in our household. There's been times where I thought that I explained something to my husband and he just didn't get the gist of it. And there's been times where he thought he explained something to me and I didn't get the gist of it. Or maybe I was busy or I was sidetracked. And it's like, hey, clearly we've had some sort of misunderstanding because I thought we were on the same page here. Versus like, how could you do this? Why wouldn't you be listening to me? And like yelling at each other. Like it just serves no purpose. And here's the thing, like we don't ever get to collaborate and compromise if we go into situations angry. So again, if someone is causing you constantly nitpicking, and you can tell that it's not a misunderstanding, this is a personality trait for them, then obviously, you need to set a boundary, not use this tool, or, work on trying to figure out how you can communicate better with that person and having some real one-on-one conversations where you can assert yourself. We can do a whole episode about assertiveness, but it's not about responding emotionally, but intellectually, where you could say, hey, Jane or John, I'm going to be really honest with you. I don't think it's your intention, but a lot of times I feel like you talk down to me and that you're degrading and that you don't listen to my ideas. That's not assuming a misunderstanding. You actually are giving him a little bit of leeway, saying, I don't think it's your intention. I love to diffuse situations like that. Now, obviously, the next time I wouldn't say this. I would say, hey, it's clear to me that you don't value me. I've tried to talk to you about this. I've brought this to you before. And every time you talk down to me, you're degrading to me, you don't listen to me. That's different. We can build on our communication until we actually know if what we're communicating about is a truth, or if our own emotions and our own bias and our own conclusions are not accurate. Assertiveness plus empathy equals power. We already talked a little bit about this, and this is really where the magic happens, okay? Like, being able to assert ourselves and to enter in conflict. There's so many times that we just avoid conflict too, because we're like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. But when we go in okay, there's clearly been some sort of misunderstanding, it instantly diffuses a situation because we are not going in guns blazing. It's just allowing us to show up, assert ourselves, and then offer that little bit of empathy for the other person. I created this when I actually did a consulting project with the T-Mobile team on how to navigate conflict at work. And it's called the ACE methodology to conflict resolution. So A, assume a misunderstanding. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt, okay? This also allows us to go right into C, which is to calmly collaborate and compromise, if possible, okay? Sometimes you're not going to get your way. It's just the way of the world, okay? You've got to learn how to collaborate. You've got to learn how to compromise. And then we extinguish it. We don't keep bringing things up. We don't keep bringing things back. And when we can navigate misunderstandings, miscommunication like this, we actually build a ton of trust, which then builds, helps with culture and team building and strength and innovation and all the things that are so important in a workforce, but also in a relationship. Also in a relationship, when you give someone this benefit of the doubt. Here's a couple little script ideas. Here's an example script. Hey, I might be misreading this, but when you said X, it hit me as Y. Could you clarify this for me? I want to make sure we're on the same page. Something that simple. That's emotional intelligence. That's self-leadership. That's organizational leadership. That's relational leadership, that you're opening up the door to create understanding versus slamming it shut with judgment. Here's another stat for you. Teams with high EQ resolve conflict 50% faster. Talent Smart has sourced this, saying that teams with high EQ resolve conflict 50% faster because they're assuming a misunderstanding. They're able to calmly collaborate and compromise. They're able to assert themselves intellectually versus emotionally, and then they can come to that mutual resolution. So again, I've used this with my boys. I use it all the time. I'm like, okay, guys, clearly there's been some sort of misunderstanding because I thought we were all on the same table with XYZ. And then they can come to the table and they get to say what they thought. And then we can, communicate and come up with what's best for both of us and that mutual resolution and understanding. It works in boardrooms. It works in break rooms. I remember one time I was using this and they were like, someone told me after I did a workshop, I usually use this in my workshops for EQ, and it's part of my 10 secrets to level up your leadership. One of those, handling customer service issues, handling workplace conflicts. They were like, this solved an issue that had been brewing for a year. I was able to go to them and be like, hey, I feel like we've had a misunderstanding for quite a while, and I would love to just talk about it. And it gave the person the ability to assert themselves. And guess what? It was a misunderstanding. It was a misunderstanding all along. It's a mindset. It's a superpower. It's something that you could practice all the time. So here is the takeaway from today. Next time that you feel triggered or misread or ready to rage or, going guns blazing, what if you just paused, breathed a little bit, and said, what if this is just a big, fat misunderstanding? What if I approached it like that? What else could this mean? What story am I telling myself? what could happen if I got curious instead of furious? What would happen? How would this change your relationships with your children, with your spouse, with your friends, with your family members, with your work people, with customer service? Every time I have a customer service issue, when I get someone on the phone or if I have to go into a store, I always say, hey, I think there's been some sort of misunderstanding because something isn't working out here. Do you know how grateful the customer service person is to have me say that to them versus to go in and start yelling at the customer service person and accusing them of a bunch of shit? Like, it is literally transformational. And here's the thing. Most of the time, it's not about you. Someone's not out to get you. They just don't understand you. They just don't get exactly what's going on. And it wasn't about them either. Their tone or their day or their content. All you needed was this ability to come to a mutual understanding. All you need to do was activate your emotional intelligence and stay mentally fit enough to assume a misunderstanding. Trust me, you're worth it. Your relationships are worth it. And I would love to know if you do this, if you practice this in the next week, message me, let me know it works. Share this one with a friend. Share this one at your Monday morning meeting. Pass it on to your sales reps within your organization. I'm telling you, this is one of those tips. This is one of those emotional intelligence tips that was gifted to me that's changed my life. And I believe will change your life, your company's life, your relationships. You guys, it's true gold. It is truly gold. So until next time, until we get to meet again here in a couple of weeks, keep shining, live unapologetically authentic to exactly who you are, always assume a misunderstanding, and be who you came to be.